Why do we still talk about Rome? It's been centuries since its fall, yet the Roman Empire continues to capture our imagination. We see its influence all around us, in our laws, languages, and buildings. Its rise from a small city-state to a vast empire is a tale of ambition, power, and human drama that resonates across the ages. Just imagine an empire that stretched from Britain to Mesopotamia. This was a world of incredible engineering feats, like aqueducts and roads that bound the empire together. The Romans were master builders and organizers, creating a system that lasted for over 1,000 years. But it's not just the grandeur that fascinates us, it's also the complexity. The Roman Empire was a place of stark contrasts, giving us concepts of law and citizenship, yet built on the backs of enslaved people. This journey through the Roman Empire is an exploration of those very questions. It's an adventure into a world that was, in so many ways, the foundation of our own, a story that continues to echo through time. When we think of Rome, images of white marble statues and grand temples often come to mind. The art and architecture speak of a desire for order, beauty, and permanence. However, the real story of Rome is much richer and more complex than just its public image. It's about the soldiers who marched for weeks to defend the frontiers. It's about the merchants who sailed dangerous seas to bring back exotic goods. It's about the women who ran households and influenced politics from behind the scenes. To truly understand Rome, we have to look beyond the gleaming marble. We need to dig into the dirt of everyday life. Their stories reveal the true texture of the empire, showing how Roman rule affected millions of different people in countless different ways. By exploring these personal stories, we can begin to see the Roman Empire not as a distant, monolithic entity, but as a vibrant, living society. The story of the Roman Empire is, at its heart, a human story. It's a chronicle of ambition, betrayal, love, and loss on a massive scale.
My ambition led Rome into civil war, but it also laid the groundwork for something far greater, the empire itself.
Through political genius and a bit of luck, I brought peace and stability to Rome after decades of chaos.
Their stories are compelling because they're relatable. We understand the desire for power, the fear of failure, and the pain of betrayal. The Romans grappled with issues that are still relevant today: immigration, social inequality, political corruption, and the balance between freedom and security.
How do you govern a diverse, multi-ethnic society? What is the price of maintaining a vast empire?
By studying Rome, we're not just looking at the past, we're holding up a mirror to ourselves. The story of Rome is our story. It's a grand, sweeping epic that continues to teach us, inspire us, and warn us. Before it was an empire, Rome was just a collection of small villages. The story of its founding is shrouded in myth, a legendary tale that the Romans themselves loved to tell. It begins with two twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, descendants of a Trojan hero. They were discovered and cared for by a she-wolf, a powerful image that would become an iconic symbol of the city. The tale continues with the two brothers growing into strong leaders. They decided to build a city on the very spot where they had been saved. However, they soon quarreled over who should be its king. Romulus then became the first king, naming the city Rome after himself, and began to lay the foundations for its future greatness. This founding myth is more than just a simple story. The early reality was likely much less dramatic. Archaeologists suggest that the area was settled by Latin-speaking people around the 10th century BC. After Romulus, Rome was supposedly ruled by a series of 6 more kings. This period, known as the Roman Kingdom, lasted for over 2 centuries. Each king, according to tradition, contributed something vital to the city's development. The second king, Numa Pompilius, was remembered as a man of peace. He established many of Rome's most important religious cults and priesthoods, including the Vestal Virgins. Following Numa, other kings left their own marks on the growing city. Tullus Hostilius was a warlike king who expanded Roman territory by conquering neighboring settlements. Ancus Marcius, another king, is said to have built the first bridge across the Tiber River and founded the port of Ostia. The last king of Rome was Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, or Tarquin the Proud. This pivotal event marked the end of the monarchy and the beginning of a new era for Rome. With the monarchy overthrown, the Romans established a new form of government. They called it a res publica, a public affair or commonwealth. This was the birth of the Roman Republic in 509 BC. This new system was designed with a series of checks and balances to distribute power and prevent tyranny. At the head of the new republic were two officials called consuls. The Senate itself, which had been an advisory council under the kings, grew in importance. It was composed of members from the city's leading families, the patricians. However, this new republic was far from a true democracy. In the early years, political power was held almost exclusively by the patricians, the small class of wealthy, landowning aristocrats. This deep social divide created a great deal of tension and led to a long and bitter struggle for political equality. The newly formed republic was not born into a peaceful world. It was surrounded by rivals and enemies. From its earliest days, Rome was in a near constant state of war with its neighbors in central Italy. These were peoples like the Latins, the Etruscans, the Sabines, and various hill tribes from the Apennine Mountains. Survival depended on military strength. The Roman army, made up of citizen soldiers who were primarily farmers, had to be ready to defend the city at a moment's notice. This constant need for defense gradually transformed into a drive for expansion. Each victory brought more land, more resources, and unfortunately more potential enemies along a newly expanded frontier. One of the most significant early challenges came from the nearby Etruscan city of Veii. The two cities were locked in a rivalry that lasted for decades. The final war against Veii was a grueling 10-year siege, a conflict that tested Roman resolve to its absolute limit. The legendary hero Marcus Furius Camillus finally led the Romans to victory, capturing and destroying the city. This triumph was a major turning point. The conquest of Veii doubled the size of Roman territory and marked the beginning of Rome's domination over its Etruscan neighbors. It demonstrated the effectiveness of the Roman military machine and its relentless determination. Just as Rome was celebrating this victory, it faced a devastating catastrophe. In 390 BC, a tribe of Gauls from the north swept down into Italy. They were fierce warriors, unlike any the Romans had faced before. They defeated the Roman army at the Battle of the Allia and proceeded to march on Rome itself. The city was left defenseless. The Gauls sacked and burned much of Rome, a humiliation that would be seared into the Roman memory for centuries. Only the Capitoline Hill held out. The Romans were eventually forced to pay a large sum of gold to make the Gauls leave, a deeply shameful moment in their history. This disaster, however, did not break the Romans, it made them stronger. They rebuilt their city, this time with formidable defensive walls. They also reformed their army, adopting new tactics and equipment to make it more flexible and resilient. The sack of Rome forged a new, unshakable determination never to be so vulnerable again. In the decades that followed, Rome systematically began to conquer and absorb the other peoples of the Italian peninsula. Through a combination of military conquest, diplomacy, and the establishment of colonies, Rome gradually brought all of Italy south of the Po Valley under its control, setting the stage for its dramatic expansion across the Mediterranean. After conquering Italy, Rome's ambitions clashed with Carthage, a powerful maritime empire in North Africa. Their rivalry erupted into the Punic Wars, three brutal conflicts that shaped the ancient Mediterranean. Rome's determination and innovation, like the Corvus boarding bridge, helped them win Sicily and emerge as a naval power. But Carthage's resentment endured, setting the stage for Hannibal and a devastating second war. The Second Punic War was Hannibal's war. In 218 BC, he led his army, including war elephants, across the Alps into Italy, an incredible feat that stunned Rome. Hannibal's tactics crushed Roman armies at Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and Cannae, shaking Rome to its core. Yet in their darkest hour, the Romans refused to surrender, showing resilience and rebuilding for the battles ahead. As Rome battled Hannibal in the west, its gaze turned east to the wealthy Hellenistic kingdoms, Macedon, the Seleucids, and Egypt. Through war and diplomacy, Rome defeated Macedon and the Seleucids, bringing Greece and much of the east under its control. The sack of Corinth marked the end of Greek independence. In just over a century, Rome became master of the Mediterranean, forever changed by Hellenistic culture. With the Mediterranean secure, Rome turned north to Gaul, home to fierce Celtic tribes. Julius Caesar saw opportunity, launching a brutal conquest that united Gaul under Roman rule. He even crossed the sea to mysterious Britannia, the first Roman general to do so. These campaigns expanded Rome's borders and set the stage for future conquests. In the final years of the Roman Republic, Gaius Julius Caesar rose from a modest patrician family to dominate Rome through ambition, military genius, and political alliances. Forming the first triumvirate with Pompey and Crassus, Caesar gained power, conquered Gaul, and won the loyalty of a formidable army. As alliances fractured, Caesar's ambition led to inevitable conflict with Rome's Senate, forever changing history. In 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon, defying Roman law and sparking civil war. Alea iacta est, the die is cast. His swift advance forced Pompey and the Senate to flee. Caesar's victories made him master of Rome, but his power alarmed the Senate. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, he was assassinated, plunging Rome into further chaos. After Caesar's assassination, Rome plunged into chaos, with Octavian and Antony rising from the turmoil. Their rivalry ended at the Battle of Actium, where Octavian triumphed. Octavian became Rome's sole ruler, taking the title Augustus. The Roman Empire began, ushering in the Pax Romana, 2 centuries of peace and prosperity. Augustus transformed Rome, laying the foundations for an empire that would endure for centuries. After Augustus's reign, succession was uncertain. His stepson Tiberius became emperor, ruling capably but without Augustus's charisma. Tiberius's later years were marked by paranoia and fear, paving the way for Caligula's brief, chaotic rule. After Caligula's assassination, Claudius, once dismissed as a fool, proved an effective ruler. The Julio-Claudian dynasty's power was solidified, but instability and tyranny lurked beneath. Nero, the final Julio-Claudian emperor, came to power in 54 AD as a teenager. His early reign, guided by advisors Seneca and Burrus, was exemplary, but as he aged, his darker impulses emerged. Nero craved public adulation for his artistic talents.
I murdered my mother Agrippina and wife Octavia to free myself.
His rule descended into paranoia and terror. The Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD was a turning point. Rumors claimed Nero started the fire to build the Domus Aurea. He needed a scapegoat and blamed the Christians. Nero's self-indulgence and cruelty alienated the Senate, army, and people. The empire teetered on rebellion.
In 68 AD, legions revolted and the Senate declared me a public enemy.
Abandoned, Nero fled and took his own life, ending the Julio-Claudian dynasty. His death plunged Rome into the year of the 4 emperors. Rome's greatest legacy is its system of law, a blueprint for justice that shaped the Western world. From the 12 Tables to Justinian's Code, Roman law evolved to govern a vast, diverse empire. It established principles like innocent until proven guilty and a government of laws, not men. Today, its influence endures in legal systems worldwide, uniting people under shared rules and justice. The Romans were master builders, practical engineers on a scale the world had never seen before. Their architectural and engineering prowess was not just for show. It was a fundamental tool of empire. They built to last, and they built for purpose, to move armies, to supply cities with water, and to demonstrate the power and permanence of Roman rule. The most famous examples of this are the Roman roads, an enormous network of incredibly straight, well-constructed roads, famously proclaiming "all roads lead to Rome," crisscrossed the empire. They were the arteries of Rome. allowing for the rapid movement of legions, officials and trade goods from the misty forests of Germania to the sun-baked deserts of Africa. Just as impressive were the aqueducts, those magnificent arched structures that carried fresh water for miles to supply Rome's cities. With a steady supply of clean water, cities could support large populations with public baths, fountains, and complex sanitation systems, including extensive sewer networks like Rome's. This level of public hygiene was really unparalleled in the ancient world and contributed to the health and growth of urban centers. These aqueducts were marvels of engineering built with a precise slight gradient over vast distances to ensure the steady flow of water, a testament to the skill of Roman surveyors and builders who often worked with only the most basic of tools. Beyond the infrastructure, the Romans perfected a new building material that allowed them to construct on a massive scale concrete. By mixing volcanic ash, lime and rubble, they created a material that was cheaper, more flexible and more durable than traditional stone. This innovation allowed for the creation of vast vaulted ceilings and enormous domes, freeing architects from the constraints of post and lintel construction. This led to iconic structures like the Pantheon in Rome, with its breathtaking coffered dome, and the Colosseum, a massive amphitheater that could hold over 50,000 spectators for its brutal public games, showcasing both Roman engineering genius and its tasteful spectacle. The Romans also planned their cities with a remarkable degree of order and standardization. Many new cities, especially those founded as military colonies, were laid out on a grid plan, centered on two main intersecting streets, the and. Every major Roman city had a standard set of public buildings, a forum for public life, temples for worship, basilicas for law courts and business, theaters for entertainment, and public bathhouses for socializing and hygiene. This urban blueprint was replicated across the empire from Britain to Syria, creating a shared urban culture and a visible manifestation of Roman identity and control in every corner of their world. Rome's greatest legacy was the idea of a universal state uniting diverse peoples under a single identity. Through Roman citizenship, people from across the empire, no matter their origin, could become Roman. This shared status brought legal rights, protections, and a sense of belonging. Local elites adopted Roman customs, blending cultures into a unique Greco-Roman world. This vision of unity and order would inspire Europe for centuries to come. The golden age of the Pax Romana could not last forever. By the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire was crumbling from within. Political chaos, economic collapse, and relentless civil war tore it apart. External threats mounted as Germanic tribes and the Sassanid Persians attacked its borders. Only the efforts of soldier emperors like Aurelian saved Rome from total collapse. But the scars would last forever. In the late 4th century, Rome's northern borders faced relentless pressure. The arrival of the Huns pushed Germanic tribes like the Visigoths into Roman lands seeking refuge. Mistreatment led to rebellion, and at Adrianople in 378 AD, the Roman army was crushed. By 410, the Visigoths sacked Rome itself, a shocking sign that the Western Empire was collapsing. The end was now drawing near. At the end of the 3rd century, Emperor Diocletian split the vast Roman Empire into East and West, hoping to manage it better. The East, wealthier and more urban, thrived, while the rural West struggled. Over time, the two halves drifted apart, and the West, weakened by invasions and economic decline, collapsed. The East endured, becoming the Byzantine Empire. By 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire was just a shadow of its former self, fragmented, weakened, and ruled by Germanic commanders. Odoacer deposed the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, and sent the imperial regalia to Constantinople. The ancient empire that once seemed eternal had at last crumbled into dust, marking the end of an era and the dawn of the Middle Ages. Our journey through the Roman Empire ends here. From humble huts to a mighty empire, Rome's story is one of ambition, glory, and decline. Its ruins remind us that history is a living conversation. Rome's legacy shapes our world even now. The rise and fall of Rome is both a warning and an inspiration echoing through time. Rome isn't just ancient ruins or dusty history, but it's all around us, in our languages, our laws, our cities, and even our beliefs. The world we live in today is, in so many ways, a world built by the Romans. From the words we speak to the laws that govern us to the roads beneath our feet, Rome's legacy is everywhere. Rome is not dead, it lives on all around us. The ultimate legacy of Rome isn't just artifacts, but powerful ideas. A universal state uniting diverse peoples under common law and shared identity. The Roman concept of citizenship was revolutionary. Identity wasn't just blood or birthplace, but political and cultural allegiance. This inclusive, multi-ethnic society idea remains powerful today. It's a challenge we're still grappling with. The story of Rome is a profound case study in power dynamics. It shows how states rise and fall. The balance between military might, economic stability, and political legitimacy. The collapse of the Republic shows the dangers of extreme inequality. The crisis of the 3rd century shows how quickly instability can unravel society. The fall of the empire is a reminder that no system is immune to history. The Roman Empire continues to fascinate us. Its story isn't just about the past, it's about us. We see our own political debates and social challenges reflected in the Romans. The questions they faced are the same we face today. How do we manage a diverse society? How do we balance liberty and security? How do we deal with economic crises or environmental change? The Romans don't give us easy answers, but their successes and failures offer us perspective. The journey through the Roman Empire is a journey into our own world. It's a human story filled with brilliance and brutality. An idea born in a small Italian city shaped human history. The legacy of Rome is written into our laws, languages, and ideas. The echo of its legions, senators, and citizens can still be heard. The story of Rome is not over. It's a story without end because it's our own.